Justin Myrick, discussing topics from education to finance. All the advice you'll need on life right here, you'll find it. With kings who weathered every climate and come out shining, so come and get inspired. My uncles and me. It takes 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 my uncles and me.
Welcome to the My Uncles and Me podcast, a podcast with a purpose, where we have accomplished older men give advice to a younger man on how they got to be where they are in life, what they would do when they were his age, about their insight, their knowledge, their wisdom, pretty much everything that you would want to talk about when talking to an uncle. So, if that's what you want to hear, then stay tuned. All right, guys, we are back with another episode of My Uncles and Me. Woo! All right, so today we have Mr. Michael Thomas, a.k.a. Mr. Bootcamp, here with us in the studio.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, so I am excited about today, so let me read his bio just so you guys can know who we have with us. Now, Michael Thomas brings diverse experiences and insight to his work at Columbia Life and Fitness Bootcamp. He is not only a United States Army veteran, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
He has also worked as a licensed Series 6 financial advisor, juveniles corrections officer, recreation specialist, youth Sunday school leader, battalion chief at the Columbia Fire Department, and personal trainer. In addition, as a certified John Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach, Michael draws from life lessons he has learned from great leaders and his own personal failures and successes, as well as more than 30 years of experience in public service to offer fun and engaging workshops. Michael is the author of the book, Financial Literacy Bootcamp for Teens and Young Adults.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm excited to have you on the show.
Well, I'm really excited to be here as well. I guess about a month ago, I got a contact about participating in a program that, just seems to be a great program to help young men that grew up, many of them that grew up like I did. For me, life was tough. A lot of people don't know, but I grew up in a small town in the Mississippi Delta. Poverty, drugs, and alcohol, violence was everywhere from the day that I was born. There was not a day that life wasn't tough. But I knew I was gonna make it out. I just wasn't exactly sure how yet. And that was until my Uncle Levan came home to visit. I was in the 5th grade, and he was home visiting from the Army. And one day he took all the kids to the store, and he said, "You could have anything you want." And I said, "Anything?"
Wow.
Blew my mind.
Right.
Because that was the first time that anyone had told me that I could have anything that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That day I knew I was gonna make it out. In the 5th grade, I actually became a soldier in the United States Army. That day, he gave me a vision on my vehicle, my rocket ship out of a tough situation. And getting in the military was actually the first introduction to an opportunity that really presented itself to show me exactly who I was and the work that I would do for the rest of my life. I fell in love with the drill sergeant's voice, their command, their ability to move people around, to empower. And from that point, I knew that I would be a teacher and instructing on life for the rest of my life.
And so how long were you in the military for?
I was in the military for 4 years.
Okay, 4 years. And so were you, stationed stateside, or were you overseas, or?
Stationed at Fort Jackson for 4 years. And before I got out when the 4 years was over, actually before the 4 years were over, I went to started volunteering at the Department of Juvenile Justice, because I knew at that point that I wanted to get out and work with young men that had struggled. And I had read a book, Think and Grow Rich, and that book was the second part of a part that changed the trajectory of my life, because I really understood that I could really think and grow rich.
Right.
Just my thoughts, continuing changing my thoughts would just empower me and change the ability to empower myself, make a lot of money, and then teach young people how they could do the same.
Right. So really a lot of it was reaching back to help others who had started out like you did.
100%.
Awesome. Yeah. That's always awesome to see. And so I guess that would tie into your name of Mr. Bootcamp.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit, because I know you were telling them earlier, but tell the viewers on air, how you got the moniker Mr. Bootcamp.
Certainly. So what I did mention is that I got back into fitness because I started looking for a business, but I got back into fitness after I got out the military because exercise had always made me feel better when I was, feeling stressed and worn out. And a part that I didn't mention as well is that my father, who was a drug dealer, was shot and left paralyzed, both legs amputated.
Both of them.
A year later, my mom got cancer. A year after she got cancer, she died, and I didn't feel well. So I started searching again for something that would allow me to feel well. So I started back exercising. Once I started back exercising, I decided that, maybe I want to become a personal trainer. So at the time, there was these new programs popping up all around the country, fitness boot camps. And it fit me naturally. I always loved helping people. I loved exercising. So I decided to open up what was then called Columbia Fitness Boot Camp. And so then I was marketing, and I had a client that actually signed me up because I'm 50. It took me a while to get on Facebook, even though it had been around for a while. But she signed me up, said, hey, I'm going to help you with your marketing. But, no one could find me because my name is very common, Michael Thomas. So after I started the boot camp, I figured I'll just throw Michael Boot Camp in the middle, Michael Boot Camp Thomas, so my friends would be able to find me. Little did I know at that time that it would become a part of my branding that stuck with who I am and what I do. I do feel like the truth is that Michael Boot Camp Thomas is a persona, but in a lot of ways, a real person. It's the person that I had to become as a little boy to survive.
Right.
So everything about Michael Boot Camp Thomas is about strength, overcoming, but in order to not to fold and become a part of the pain that I was born in, I had in the 5th grade to become Michael Boot Camp Thomas.
Wow. That's powerful. And I've heard of that before where, people kind of make up, I guess, as children, they do make up alter egos just so they can, I guess, and I don't want to say as a survival technique,
Definitely.
but something like that.
Definitely.
Something where it allows them to okay, I can be this person. I can do everything that normally I wouldn't be able to do.
Exactly. Exactly. So that building that brand around that persona, and it'll actually allow me to go back out and serve, feel strong, even when I don't feel like it. It's like, let's go, Michael.
So could you tell us a little bit more about, the need to stay in shape? Because I see a lot of people, I've been going back to the gym. But when I'm in the gym, though, I see a lot of people who have already stopped going, because the gym was filled January 1st, but then it's already, sometime in February or March, people stopped going. And I noticed a lot of people, especially young people.
Definitely.
I've seen a lot of people my age and younger than me, they struggle with their health or their weight, or they struggle to keep things down, or they just struggle to, I guess, be as healthy as possible. And so I was just wondering if you could, I guess, give advice on how, if there were any lifestyle changes people can make, or if there's anything, especially for young people, because I do see a lot of young men, and I'm like, you're so young, you can't, because a lot of these health problems that they have, they're not going to get better as they get older,
Exactly.
And I see a lot of people say, oh, I just struggle with my weight. And I'm like, well, certainly there's something that you can do.
Sure.
So tell me, I guess, the personal trainer in you, what would the personal trainer say to someone who's looking to stay in shape, and also keep in shape too? Because I see a lot of people where they lose weight, but they struggle to really keep it off.
Definitely. So everything I've done has been based on a vision. And a part of it is that you see something that you want that becomes a driving force in your life. And as I've gotten older, and the more I understand what we're trying to do, and I feel like what we're really trying to do is to live as many life energy hours as that we have possible in the best health. Mm-hmm. Because to live without health is struggling, and it's hard to be happy when you're in pain. So making sure that we look ahead, and I had a wise lady tell me one day, she saw me, I was stressed, and she says, Michael, remember this, that the old man only gets what the young man gives him. So she's saying, while you're young, take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Because health and wealth are very connected. And when you start to wear yourself out, when you don't sleep well, everything is energy. Mm-hmm. So a part of what I understand about life is everything is energy. And the first time I heard that, I didn't really understand the power of it. But I went on further to ponder that thought. We measure heat in British thermal units. The pressure in our tires in pounds per square inch, the lights in lumens. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we get up in the morning, we check our phone to see how much battery power we have. When we get ready to get in our car, we see how much energy we have and how far we can go. Mm-hmm. We measure energy in calories. Everything is energy. So when now the goal is okay, how can I best extend my energy hours without wearing myself out and make sure that I have the best quality of life that I could have, that offers me an opportunity to go and live a life that feels good to me. And I think when you then make sure that you understand that all we're trying to do is use our energy in the best way that we possibly can, so that when we get to the end of it, we're happy with how we've used our energy.
I like that. That's really good, because I see a lot of people where they talk about, I guess when they say like, oh, my energy's just off, or like, oh, I saw one person where he was like, oh, I'm a big believer in people's energy. And I've noticed that when certain people come into the room, the room can be whatever, but then once they leave, it's interesting how their energy can impact the entire like atmosphere of the room.
100%.
So when you were saying, everything's energy, I thought that was really, really interesting, especially seeing it myself. Because at first I'm like, yeah. Or at least when I was younger, I've heard like, oh, energy, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then after like, you're around certain people, you see certain things, and you're like, oh, energy is like a real, very real thing.
100%. And one of the deals is that the best ways, in my belief, to improve energy is exercise. Mm-hmm. Blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. In terms of how you eat, I can eat something really high in carbohydrates. It's going to cause a spike in my insulin level, which then is going to cause me to feel really tired and worn out, and I just want to go to sleep. So I feel like in order to wake up and get the best possible energy capacity that you can have, it requires 7 hours of sleep, 8 glasses of water, lean protein, mm-hmm. some exercise. Okay, you take the time to fuel yourself properly. So sometimes we're failing simply because we don't have the basics. When I talk to a young student, it's going to be hard to learn if you're going to school with 3 hours of sleep and hungry. Who can learn? You just don't have the energy capacity to show up with a great attitude.
That is true.
And really be able to perform in a way that, and especially if it's a hard subject.
And it's going to affect your thinking.
Definitely.
You won't be able to think clearly. You won't be able to concentrate.
100%.
And that's really going to tank things if you don't concentrate,
And the brain's, everything we eat becomes sugar. Some things much faster than other. And the brain's only source of fuel is sugar. So when you're trying to learn something and you're running low, let me tell you something that happens to me, Justin, when my sugar level gets low.
Okay.
My optimism drops off.
Really? Now this I want to hear about.
Yeah. So when my sugar level gets low, I don't feel my best. I'm working on goals and dreams. Those goals and dreams look like they just start backing up. Simply because I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. So my physiological drop in sugar causes a mental loss in optimism.
Now, among the people that you train, is this something that's common among them? Where if they haven't eaten or if they're tired, then they just feel like their dreams aren't accomplishable. Like, is that something you see often in your clients, or?
I see it every day. If you didn't sleep well last night and you show up to the gym and you haven't eaten, there's a good chance that you're not going to even show up that day.
You make a point. Okay.
If you skip a meal, let's say that you go to bed at 9 o'clock, you don't eat to noon. Mm-hmm. When it's time to go get lunch, the opportunity to get a salad is out the window. You're too hungry.
And you won't choose what's right for you. You'll choose.
You want a high calorie, high fat, high sugar, fat meal.
Right. Even though that won't help you
No.
get to where you want to be.
Right. So balancing blood sugar levels in terms of mental capacity and weight loss is very important. Okay. Water and eating on a schedule and meals that are low in, carbohydrates matters greatly.
So what is, I guess, one of the things that your clients come to you and they say, oh, I want to get to this? Or like, do they say that they want to look like a certain body type? Or do they say, oh, I want to lose X amount of weight? Or do they say, I want to get this certain physical factor under control? Or is it?
Everybody has their own motivation for losing weight. Some people may have some health concerns. They see some patterns that's running in their family. Some people begin to not feel as well. Some people just may be in pursuit of a date. Their motivation for losing weight all is different in terms of some people just want more confidence. It's like, I just don't like the way that I feel. I don't like the way that I look,
Right.
So it just depends on what their motivation is. But I will say this, that, and of course, is that weight loss or weight gain is often a symptom.
Ooh, a symptom of what?
Stress.
Stress? Like, is it just stress? It's not like bad eating habits that are linked to stress, or is it just
Bad eating habits are often a symptom.
But it all goes back to stress.
The root cause is oftentimes stress. If you're really busy, you're not getting enough sleep, you have children problems, you have job problems, you have money problems, these things show up in terms of a lot of people tend to overeat. Some people shop, some people overwork,
Oh, ain't that the truth?
but oftentimes with soothing symptoms. And until you start really looking at what's the root cause. So when I get people come to me to lose weight, I'm working with them to understand, why are you overeating? Why are you stressed? Because we can add this gym regimen to it, but it's only going to be another stressor.
Right. So you really get to the root, I guess, like the psychological problem.
Definitely.
Of things. Okay. So, and this is a debate me and those two right there. Those two right there, him and her. This is something we've been talking about because I guess, what would you say is the best time of day to work out? Because I normally work out in the evening, afternoon once I get off work, and they're like, that'll keep you up at night. That'll keep you up at night. So I'm just wondering, don't tell them. Don't tell them that they're right. But what would you say is the best time of day to work out for someone who, is still balancing school and, or like a job or stuff like that?
No, so I think we're all different. There's some people that get up at 5:30 in the morning. There's some people need to wait to 10 o'clock. There's some that's going to do it the evening. My most effective time of the day, my most productive time of the day is between 10 and 2.
Okay.
Some people most productive is between midnight and 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So just understanding who you are and really when you come alive is, so if I exercise late in the evening, I'm going to be overstimulated and I'm not going to sleep well.
Right.
I don't want to get up necessarily too early to exercise these days. I'm retired, so my best time to work out is between 9 and 10. So it's really your lifestyle, who you are as a person, that allows you to do it without you having to struggle to do it.
Mm. Okay. And so do you get, I guess, many young people coming to you saying, oh, like I'm trying to, I guess, look like this influencer or this person or that? Because I see that a lot on my social media where it's like, oh, everyone's trying to look like, I guess, like Sam Sulek or, like Chris Bumstead or, like Alex Eubank or people like that. Do you see any of that?
Well, I don't see a lot of that personally because most of the people I train are adults. Mm-hmm. But I tell people comparison is usually, it's going to be hard to find happiness comparing yourself to other people. Now, if you want to use someone to motivate you, if you want to use someone to give you an image of a particular body part, arms or something that you want, then that's fine. But, there's a group of people out here that has lived in the gym. They have nutritionists. They have the time. Mm-hmm. And this is pretty much their life. If they're an actor, an actress, and they know that this is a part of their image and they have, So they have the time. Whereas if you work full time, you're in school full time, and you have a child, you may not have the time available to commit to that type of regimen.
Right.
With, and be able to compare yourself to that person.
Okay. And so like has there ever been a time where like you've experienced, I guess, like the comparison thing, like, oh, this person, I guess, looks like has bigger arms than me, or?
No, for me, it's always, for me, been about making sure that I take the appropriate steps to stay as healthy as I possibly can, because I realize that it's hard to be happy when you're in pain. I don't want to use parts of my life during the week being at doctor visits and taking medication, visiting the doctor. I mean, that's a 4-hour ordeal. I mean, you got to sit there for a couple hours. You got to wait on the doctor. Sometimes it's lab results, or being in pain and surgery and recovering from that. I've always preferred to be on the preventive side of that, because sometimes it's hard to restore once it's lost.
I've seen that a lot of that, where people, they say, I get, what was it, like an ounce of prevention is worth like a pound of cure?
100%.
Yeah. So I see you have this financial literacy book. So I guess and I'm curious as to what got you into, because to go from like fitness to financial literacy, it is, I guess, to some people a bit of a jump. So like, what got you into, right here. Yeah, there we go.
Well, it would seem that my life may be a little bit of sporadic, but it's really not. When you look at my career, I was in the military. I got out with the Work Department of Juvenile Justice. I became a licensed financial advisor. And then I retired from the Columbia Fire Department. I became a personal trainer. Seems like a lot of different stuff, but really it's not. I've always been a helper. I've always been a servant. So any area that I became interested enough to help someone in, until I exhausted that part of my life, that stage of my life, I gave it my all to it. So finding myself now back in the youth space, remember I started off after I got out of the military working with youth.
Right.
Now finding myself back teaching life skills and financial literacy and giving back after I've retired has been really, just a circle back. But also, it's just that I feel like life is about ages and stages. Now, at the core of me, I'm a helper, I'm a teacher. When you look throughout my career, you will see that. So, will there be something else that I'm teaching and helping after this? I don't know. But if it becomes a desire of mine and that keeps circling back, that won't go away, we'll take a look at it and see if it's something I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. And so you think that was because it's needed.
Definitely.
Especially with a lot of people, I guess, my age, younger, even some adults where, they don't, I guess, really understand credit building, or, certain people, I don't want to say they get suckered into certain things financially, but that kind of is what happens. So like, what is one of the more common things that you see with young people as far as, making sure that they are financially literate, before they really go out into the world on their own?
Well, I think that a part of why I got into financial literacy was I was invited to become a part of an investment club. And remember, I grew up in a small town in Helena, Arkansas. And I was introduced to a world that I didn't even know existed, Wall Street. And when I saw it, I've been this person that once I become interested in something, it's not enough for me to learn it on the surface.
Right.
I'm a deep diver in terms of the information. So I then decided that I wanted to become a licensed financial advisor. And from there, now what I'm doing is helping young people understand how to reach for a wealthy lifestyle, for whatever that motivation is. Sometimes we want to shop, sometimes we want to travel, sometimes we got some people we want to give back to. We want to go back and buy our parents a house, or maybe release some of that financial burden, right? Yeah,
it's on the parents a house.
Yeah, to relieve that financial burden. So now I'm really giving them a blueprint on how to do that. So one of the questions I ask young people sometimes, I said, at what age does someone tell you that you don't have to work for money? And they always said, never. No one's ever told me that I don't have to work for money.
Really?
Most 95% of people, no.
They don't realize that?
No. So I said, let me ask you this. I say you buy 500 shares of stocks from the Nike Corporation.
Right.
You're now one of the owners of the Nike Corporation. And every day Nike sells 2-3 million pairs of shoes all around the world. Jordans and Air Force Ones. And in 3 months, they're going to send you, if they pay a dividend check, right? Profits divided amongst his owners. How much work did you do for that money? It's a zero. So this is what's called passive income, right? Mm-hmm. So the goal is to earn a living doing what you love. Once you can kind of figure out what that looks like, because that requires the least amount of energy when you love it. Because remember, it's all managing energy. Mm-hmm. So when you love it and the work is it's like fun, there's no difference between your vacation and your vocation, mm-hmm. and the pay is just extra. See, I've never worked a day in my life. Everything I've done, I've absolutely loved. Then you're going to take a part of that earned income, and we're going to start investing 10 to 15%. So that day's work is not in vain. If you invest it, that day's work will live for as long as it's invested without your energy.
I hope y'all just wrote that down. I hope y'all just wrote that down, because I feel like he's giving out blueprints and codes and keys and everything like that. So that way your mama can get a G-Wagon, your daddy can get a G-Wagon, everybody on the block can have new Air Force One. No, I'm just playing.
So anybody that's followed this formula, it's not hard to become wealthy. This is a mindset. So when Nike sent you that dividend check and you didn't have to work for it, then I asked the young people, would you rather own 20 pairs or 20 shares?
20 shares.
And see the difference?
Shares.
Yeah, just 20 shares, right? Because this is money now being earned without your presence.
Right.
Money that you've earned that's still working and will work for the rest of your life without your energy. Now, this is a mindset. The mindset, poor, middle class, and wealthy people, is sometimes the poor and the middle class, they wear it. Wealthy people own it.
Yes, I've seen that myself.
Right. So wealth building is a mindset. And it's all about taking the exact same resources, starting off with that earned income, and using it differently. We could take a 700 credit score and $700, and we could buy a luxury car. Or we could take that same $700 and same 700 credit score and buy a used dump truck. The difference is one is a liability, the other one's an asset. The dump truck is going to make you 10 grand a month. That allows you to pay for the luxury car. The difference often between those that build wealth and those don't is their ability to use a part of their earned income to accumulate assets.
So it's all about how you set
It's the same resources in the beginning, earned income. Mm-hmm. And then what are you going to do with that earned income? And if you can't have a part of today's dollar that you kept 10 to 15% that will work forever in your absence, you can't build wealth. If you spend 100% of the money that you earn, there's no way to build wealth.
So it's kind of like the discussion that me and my family have had, where we say, how much is a computer worth to somebody? To somebody, it's just, I guess, like a regular computer, but to another person, they can build, like an empire with it. So that's what that reminds me of. But I'm wondering, what do you think about, I guess, the financial gurus on YouTube, like Graham Stephan or Iman Gaji, or, like Dave Ramsey? Like, what do you think about those people? And do any of the, I guess, the young people or the teens that who come to you, have you ever, do they ever talk about those guys a lot?
The principles are all the same. Some may be a little bit more sophisticated and may understand, but it begins with the earned income and then taking a part of it and learning to use it in a way that actually allow you to make money or create multiple streams of income. For example, this book. You write a book, you upload it to Amazon. Amazon prints it and ships it. You never touch it again. You just go to see how many you sold. You can then take this book and create a course out of it. Put it on Kajabi or Teachable. Charge $49, $50 for each person to use that. You can then take this book, which I have, and create a curriculum. Sell it to schools. None of this, once it's done, passive income is investments up front one time, whether it's time or money, and then set it up in a way that you don't have to touch it again.
Write it down, y'all. Write it down.
So when you now take a part of your time, your energy to write a book, or a part of your income buy a dump truck. This is what allow you to create multiple streams of income without your presence. So it's finding an area that you can become an expert in it, and then taking a part of that income, even your job. I think this really sharp guy, I think his name is Ash Cash, says your job is your first business partner. And essentially what this job that's going to pay you $70,000, $80,000 a year to master your craft. And now you can take that information and do whatever you want with it in terms of actually creating wealth.
Okay, I'm thinking on that one. Okay. But like the more I think about it, I guess the more it makes sense.
100%. 100%. So, I give people what I call 5 steps to a life of financial freedom. First, it begins with earning a living doing what you love. It's hard to build wealth if you don't love what you do. 2, once you know what you love, you just simply get qualified. Nurse, electrician, commercial driver's license, whatever the qualification is, you get qualified. Step number 3, after you get qualified, you spend the next 3 to 5 years of your life, you get good. You practice, you go hard in the paint, you work your butt off, you master your craft. Now, here's the thing about it, Justin. Everyone that you admire, that you're willing to spend money to see, whether it's Drake, Rihanna, whether it's Steph Curry, that's their formula. They found what they love, to drop from their head to their heart. They got qualified to do it, and they got good.
I'm gonna charge y'all money for what you just said, all right? That's gonna be, I'm gonna sell the Cornelius plan.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome.
They got good. After you get good, you have an amazing attitude. Your wealth goes up. 5, you get good with money. You're earning money, and now you're taking part of your income, and you're learning to make it work in a way based on your objectives, your goals to build wealth. And that's a life. It creates a life of financial freedom.
Now, you said the last step is attitude, right?
The 4th step is attitude. The 5th step is get good with money.
Well, can you speak a little bit more about attitude? Because I've seen myself where certain young people, they've got a garbage attitude, or they'll look you right in the eyes and not say anything, or it's just, I don't want to say lack of social skills, but you can tell that there is an attitude problem somewhere.
Definitely.
So could you
definitely
talk a little bit more about that attitude part?
Absolutely. Well, here's what I believe that I know, is that humans thrive on connection. Mm-hmm. We don't just want to get a haircut. We want to be connected to the person that's cutting our hair. When people will walk into my gym or my class or wherever I'm working with them, we are happy to see each other. And if a person is cutting your hair that you don't like, you're not going to keep sitting in their chair. You'll drive across town to someone who's less qualified.
Yeah.
Because they have a better attitude and you're connected with them. Here's the other problem with people with poor attitudes, or they don't understand why an attitude is important, is that you can never accomplish a goal by yourself. A teacher needs someone to teach. A personal trainer needs someone to train. Mm-hmm. An IT technician needs somebody's computer to fix. A podcast is going to have a host of people that's going to be needed. Mm-hmm. So you're going to need other people to accomplish your goals, because you can't accomplish a goal by yourself. So my mom used to say, baby, a good attitude will open doors that looks and education can't. Ooh. The second part is you can get as good as you want. Step number 3, you can get as good as you want. If your attitude stinks, they're going to trade you. You know how many careers that's been ended early in the NFL and leagues simply because of poor attitude? Talent was there. They just couldn't mesh with the team. Couldn't get along with the owners. Traded or careers cut short. Not because of talent.
But just because of what they were like to deal with.
Yes.
I wish I could send that to some, because there are some people that I really just want to send that as a voice to. I really do.
Yeah.
Especially when they don't think about the attitude, because I've seen where they're incredibly talented, but I'm just like, man, this person is just like, they're just horrible to deal with.
When you have a great attitude, especially for young people, when you have a great attitude, even if you don't have everything you need, your teachers, your Sunday school teachers, the people that love you will reach in their pockets. They will pick you up. They will give you a ride. They will In order for you to be successful, they would share their lives with you. They'll share their house with you. Now, there's a very few people out there do it if you got a poor attitude, but those are rare. But those that people, if people are struggling, young people or whoever, if you have a great attitude, people would literally open up their doors and share their house with you.
Silence.
It's the power of an
Mic
attitude.
drop. I wish more people could learn it, especially I've seen this in older people too. So I find it interesting that, keeping the good attitude goes into that, I guess, like that wealth building, that wealth generation formula. So I guess, which leads into my next question, which goes into that, is what are your tips or your advice for getting out of debt, especially when it, I guess, concerning like student loans or credit card debt or anything like that? Because I've seen a few people where, they're like, oh, I got this debt and then like stuff like that. And they just keep going on and on about it. So what are your thoughts or advice on getting out of debt for young people? Or
one is, I believe money is everywhere. This universe is abundant. There is no shortage of it. And if you are struggling financially,
attitude, woo, I like it.
If you're struggling financially, this is not a money problem. It may be confidence, it may be a thought, it may be history, but there's no shortage of money. I tell people, look at the house across the street. See it. Because we see everything in pictures, and when there's no picture, there's pain. But I want you to see that house. I said, in that house, there's thousands of ways to make money. Somebody wants the grass cut. Somebody wants babysitting. Somebody wants tutoring. Somebody wants piano lessons. Somebody wants granite countertops. Every dollar that's exchanged is going to be for a problem solved.
Heavy on the granite countertops.
Yeah. Every problem that's exchanged will be for a problem solved. You only have to look for a problem that you care enough to solve and insert yourself into the equation. And you literally can create money. And you can see money. Once you start to raise your wealth consciousness, you can see money that you didn't normally see. We've never seen money move this fast. Money is moving around the world at jet-like speed. I could cash out you $20. How long will it take you to get it?
2 seconds.
We have never seen money move this fast. Uber made $36 billion last year. Uber. How many cars does Uber own?
None.
0. Because of apps, people are now, Uber only have an app that's connecting the rider and the driver. Never in history has it been so easy to make large sums of money, easy, fast, and legal. Because of technology, I can do business across the world with my cell phone with anyone in the world. I don't have to own the product. I can have it drop shipped. When I tell you the large sums of money that's capable of being made now in a short amount of time because of technology, it used to take people 4 decades to become it. We can do it in a year now. This is nothing more than a decision and a desire. And if that decision to be wealthy is strong enough, you'll seek out the resources. You'll look at the podcast. You'll find advisors. You'll find mentors, people that'll teach you how to start bringing this process together so that you can create multiple streams of income. So in order to get out of debt, it's like get some more income. There's no shortage. Create a side gig. It's limitless in terms of how many people will pay you to solve a problem for.
You just have to put yourself in the equation of solving that problem. Okay.
Look for a problem that you don't mind helping to solve. Whether that's babysitting, whether that's picking up kids, whether that's door dashing, whether that's find your problem that you don't mind solving and create some more income. Use that income, get out of debt. In 12 to 18 months, you create a plan to get out of debt. Then you can now scale that and do whatever you want.
So you brought in technology earlier with, I guess like drop shipping and Uber and Amazon. So what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Well, I'm not a fan of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Maybe a small portion of my income. Let me just tell you why. Right? Let me tell you what I respect about it first.
Okay.
So I had a friend came take pictures for me for the book, right? He's a photographer in Atlanta, Gerard Hill. And I asked him a question. I said, Gerard, let me ask you this question. I said, is there anything can show up in your camera viewer or show up in the picture that you can't see in your camera viewer? And he said, no, Mike, if I can't see it here, it can't be in the picture. I said, how can we get it in the picture? He said, I could put a wider lens on or I could step back. I said, okay, well, let me ask you this question, Gerard. Is it possible for the eyes to see what the brain can't see? He said, no, Mike. He said, if the brain can't see it, the eyes can't see it. So that means that there is a world hidden in plain view, and a lot of people making a whole lot of money that you can't see simply because you haven't came close enough and understand it, because you don't have the proximity to seeing it and understanding it. For instance, a dog whistle. I could blow it.
Right.
You won't hear it.
But they will.
The energy is out there. Does it make sure? The energy is there.
Here we go, energy.
All right, so now when we start widening the lens, this is what's called wealth consciousness. You start to see money that you had never seen before, and opportunities in industries and places, simply because now we're starting to look for passive sources of income. So we talked about using technology. Now, let me ask you this, Justin. Have you ever used your phone to pay for parking with an app?
Yeah.
Parking is now one of the most lucrative passive sources of income. I just passed down the road. Let me show you money that you haven't paid attention to. I was getting ready to buy a boat. And the reason why I didn't buy the boat, I couldn't find anywhere to store it.
Okay.
Now, I rode down the road and I see this parking lot. They storing boats, they storing camper trailers, and they're storing 18-wheelers. Each one of them paying at least $100, $125 a piece. It's a gravel parking lot with a gate, with electronic code, just to no one is there. This parking lot's probably making 15, 20 grand a month.
A month.
Just with a gravel parking lot. Now we only have to do is expand our lens to say, well, what else can we do that with?
No, I'm thinking, what else can I do that with?
So this is just, so now we look at Uber Eats.
Okay.
You know, now Chick-fil-A's got a whole nother stream of income. They don't even want you to come in the building necessarily. They're concentrating on the drive-through.
Because it's 3 lanes.
And Uber Eats. All of these streams of income, now all you have to do is look to see. I have a friend that owns ATM machines in the Washington, D.C. Every time someone uses the ATM, they pay them $3.50. The point that I'm making is now all we have to do is stretch our imagination and we begin to see money that's there. It's always been there.
So it's just about, I guess, maximizing, because someone was describing it kind of like a tree. He's like, oh, I saw real estate, but also if you look at real estate as the main tree, I've got, like this here where it's like, okay, I've got this legal fee. I've got, I make money on this. I've got, but it's like a bunch of little branches. It's what he was, I think it's Ryan Serhant, where he was describing it as like, oh, real estate's the main tree, but all of these other branches are where I also make income too. But they all go back into like the main thing. Right,
100%. For instance, we see the 18-wheelers driving down the road. What we don't see is the broker that's dispatching them. What we don't see is that someone is renting the trailers. What we don't see is all of these other sources of income. But if you became,
but they gotta have maintenance on the trucks.
If you became close enough to the industry, you begin to see ways that if you wanted to insert yourself into one of those money-making acquisitions, that you actually could. Does that make sense?
Right. And so I guess those are kind of your thoughts on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And
so here's what I respect about it. Getting back, I'm glad you brought me back there. Is that, can you touch Bitcoin?
No.
You can't touch it. You can't. It's just a abstract idea.
Yes.
It doesn't exist. But people making billions of dollars just off of an idea. That's what I respect about it.
Okay.
What I don't care much for about it, if I bought Nike, I'm buying a company that's making its money off of a product. Bitcoin doesn't have a product. It only rises and falls based on supply and demand, and if somebody else wants it more than you do. Nike, if it's paying a dividend, even if the market falls, doesn't mean, and even if the share price goes down, you still can make money on the company, and then it's probably still going to come up. Bitcoin is only speculative and has no product, and its only stream of income, whether you're going to make money or lose money, is going to be based on if someone wants it more than you want it.
Right.
Versus if I bought Starbucks, that company is going to sell coffee. It makes its money off of coffee, the profits, and then it shares its profits with its owners.
Right. Like there is some type of regulation.
Right.
With it, where I've seen with Bitcoin, it's kind of like
It's unregulated.
It's unregulated. Of course they say that, there's the blockchain where it makes everything visible to everybody. Mm-hmm. But there are some people who are just straight up scammed people because also that's another thing, they create their own Bitcoin.
Right.
Like, we've got like Zoocoin or we've got, Petcoin or whatever. And so now it's like, you can just create different, and it is interesting to see people are literally saying, hey, here's this piece of paper. All right, give me like $1,000 for it. That's kind of.
And that's what I'm saying I respect about it, is that you're creating money just off an abstract idea. And I want us to be able to learn to use our imagination better in that way. To be able, because money, all of us have reservoirs of wealth within us. Now here's the power of something I'm going to share with you that's different probably than the way most people think, is you can't become wealthy because you are wealthy. To the degree that you tap into a talent that's already in, develop it and practice it. That's what Kevin Hart did. That's what Tyler Perry's done. That's what Steph. The wealth is developed, and then you share it. You can't get it. We each have reservoirs of wealth. To the degree that you decide to search and develop.
Okay, that's interesting. But I see what you're saying.
This is what you're doing here.
Right.
With your podcast. You're tapping into a gift, a talent, and you're sharing it. Mm-hmm. And you have to work to overcome whatever obstacles. Once you monetize it, this money didn't come from out there. It came from within you.
Right. So see yourself. I guess so, like, kind of see your inner value as the wealth rather than the monetary. But like what's in the bank account, kind of like to, I guess, like flip it on its head in a little bit.
Right. To whatever degree you believe in yourself, and to the talent that you go identify and develop is where your wealth is.
Sounds pretty clear to me, folks.
Is that?
How wealthy are y'all? Put it in the comments. How wealthy are you? I want y'all to write that in the comments. How wealthy are you?
Now, let me just tell you about the power of the imagination and the power of how abundant the universe is. There's 92 elements in the universe. 92.
Just 92?
Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. 92.
The entire universe. That's aliens and
everything. 92. Everything that is built out of those 92 elements. It can't exist. It's just so when we look at steel, a long time when Carnegie was trying to develop or produce this bridge to expand a large area, they could not figure it out. They had all of his engineers working, trying to figure out how to manufacture this bridge to go over this large body of water.
Right.
And they couldn't figure it out until they figured out how to add carbon to iron. So you ever heard the saying, what carbon is to steel?
I've never heard that.
So it was just iron. Once they introduced carbon to iron, it became so strong that they could now expand across this bridge.
And then it became steel when they added the...
And everything. So when you take a look at the silicone chips that's in your computer, you know where that silicone comes from? Sand.
Well, no, I was going to say sand. I was going to say, I'm like, is that just sand?
This is the power of the universe and how these batteries, the nickel, iron,
the gold,
everything it's 92 elements. And in order to get from one form of energy to the next, it's just rearranging the elements.
So kind of like how after a little bit, if you apply enough pressure, you get like diamonds instead of just...
When I tell you there's no shortage, this is just imagination. When you take a look at the Wright brothers who dreamed of one time used his imagination to see planes flying across the sky,
You're really just your own limit then. You're just your own limit, and
The amount of wealth that you have available to you that's inside of you is mind-boggling.
well, we were listening to something like that, a sermon like that earlier today, where he was like, "Oh, in a sense, like write the vision, make it plain." And he was like, "And whatever that vision is, however small it is, that's what you're gonna get." So he's like, "So why dream small when you could dream as big as could be? Like is kind of just like why limit yourself?"
So what we're doing now, working to expand people's lens to say, oh, all I have to do is this. Yeah, that's it.
And you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's just the simplest little like, oh, we can do that. Like I've noticed sometimes it's just like, oh, they can do that. Like you see someone else with it.
We're looking at ChatGPT. I mean, the world keeps getting faster. Now, the problem is, for those that still operating with a horse and buggy mindset, they're going to get left behind.
Ooh, horse and
because
buggy.
this world is getting fast.
It is. It's getting, and it's kind of scary at how fast it's moving.
So when we're complaining about inflation, it means that you're not changing fast enough.
Oh, you heard it.
Because it's going to keep getting faster. And there's more people making millions and millions of dollars really, really fast now. They're not complaining about inflation.
Well, I've noticed that where there's people, it's like, oh, I just bought, $100,000 Lamborghini SUV. I'm living in a $4,000 a month apartment. And I'm like, what?
There was a time, Justin, that we could operate okay with the middle class mindset. Those days are very well. I mean, when you take a look at the people that are graduating from college and their ability to afford a house today,
they can't. They can't.
You literally cannot afford to keep that mindset and make it in this world.
No, and I've noticed that a lot. Thank you for saying that, because you just made me think of a lot of stuff about that, where I've seen a lot of people my age where they talk about their parents, and their parents talk about, oh, when I was your age back in the 80s or the 70s, I had, like a house, the 3-story house on like one income with 2 kids. And they're like, well, my generation and the coming generations, like literally cannot do that. We cannot, afford, I guess, the same lifestyle due to inflation rises. But it's also, there's inflation, but also none of the wages for, I guess, people who work 9 to 5s, they don't really get raised, It's like the cost of living goes up, but none of the wages do, which is interesting to see because, when people talk about, or their parents like, oh, well, back in my day, you just had to show up with your resume and you just had to work for free for a little bit. I'm like, you can't do that these days. Like it kind of seems out of touch.
You're going to have to create multiple streams of income. Mm-hmm. And so, and also it's really, again, becoming very efficient in terms of how you use energy and how you solve problems. I was reading a book, when you think about it, it says, before I asked the question, I said, is money real? And young people said, yeah. I said, what has more value, $10 or $100? They said 10. I said, let me ask you a question. A pair of Jordans, pair of Jordans Retro 1s, what are they worth? They said $250. I said, let me give you some information. One, money is not real. The $10 or the $100, neither one of them have any value. And the Jordans only have the value that you give to them. So if you take a shirt, a whole rack of shirts, you go into a store, and they sell for $200, and the shirts don't sell, what are they going to have to do to sell those shirts?
Lower.
They're going to have to lower the price.
Lower the price, yes.
Right. Now, which means you told them what they were worth. The shirts didn't have any value. They only have the value that you give to them. And until you understand that the Jordans and nothing has value, unless you give it to it, you can't build one. Money is not real. Before we had money, we were hunters and gatherers, right? And then we decided, this was in a book, we were going to now, instead of going out every day and hunting and gathering, we're going to raise and domesticate some animals.
Right.
Same food, less energy.
So you got to think smart.
Then we decided, okay, I have some chickens, but I want some corn, so I'm going to go over and wage war and kill my neighbor and take his corn. So, well, that's a lot of energy. Why don't we just barter? We'll trade some chickens for some corn. Mm-hmm. Walk 2 miles back. Then they created a market. So what we'll do now is just bring all the products to one location. Okay, now we're just walking around the market. And then they created money. It says, we don't have to trade coins and chicken. We can just use the money, and the money will be good for everything. Now, question, Justin. When's the last time you've been to the mall?
Oh, don't ask me that one. Ooh, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
How do you shop now?
Online.
You see the reduction in energy? So now you lay in bed add the cart.
Dang. But yes, I do.
So everything is just getting easier and faster, but people still want to do it the old way. So, and everybody that's still trying to do it the old way is going to be hurt by inflation. The amount of money that's coming in as fast as it's coming in, as hot as it is, if you now gravitate to a different mindset and believe that you can build wealth and then take part of it and start to, that first 10 to 15% to use it to create multiple streams of income, and then start a side gig, and then create a passive stream of income, you're not concerned as much about the prices.
Right.
It's how can I earn a living with the least amount of energy and then take part of that earned income to make other money without my energy.
So you just gotta set yourself up.
You gotta use the rules. You know, I was kayaking, I love the kayak, and the guy was teaching me, he says, go with the water. The water never gets tired.
Ooh, we gotta end on that one. Go with the water.
The water never gets tired. So we're going against the rules and trying to make it in a way that doesn't work anymore.
Mm. It's not gonna happen.
It's gonna be very difficult. You're gonna run out of time, you're gonna run out of energy. You have to work so many hours that you won't have any energy to enjoy your life.
Well, you guys heard it here first. I hope you all wrote down some really great, some of the nuggets and the codes and the blueprints that he dropped. Make sure, remember, get his book, Financial
Literacy Boot Camp.
Financial Literacy Boot Camp from Mr. Boot Camp himself. That's right. Stand on business. Stand on business. So anyways, I thank you guys for watching the show today. Thank you for being on, Uncle Thomas.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Or Uncle Michael. And yeah, thank you guys for watching another episode. See you soon.
It takes my uncles and me